YouTube and online streaming?
Yes, member, it's streaming.
Thank you, Mr. Issa. Okay, colleagues, welcome to today's Finance Committee meeting. My name is Deirdre Bartman. I'm chairperson of the committee. If you don't mind, I'm going to keep my video off because there's also some weather and signal problems here by us today, I've noticed. Colleagues, the agenda for today is the informal and formal consideration of the Western Cape 19th Gambling and Racing Amendment Bill B1 2020, and hopefully also the consideration and adoption of the draft committee report on the matter. And then we also have a long list of minutes that has been sent to us. But colleagues, first I'm going to ask if there's any apologies, as well as whether members can just introduce themselves. I'm receiving a WhatsApp now from a member van der Westhuizen indicating that he's struggling to connect. Mr. Issa, could you perhaps try and contact Mr. van der Westhuizen then?
Will do so, member.
Thank you so much. In the meantime, members, if you could please introduce yourselves.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. Dalen Mitchell.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Nomi Nkondlo.
Thank you so much. Colleagues, the normal rules of engagement applies for the meeting, and I just want to go through how Western Cape bills more or less are dealt with, because this is our first Western Cape bill. So first we will be informally considering the bill. We will then go clause by clause through the bill. And if there are any particular matters that are raised, then in terms of, for example, amendments, then those need to be raised at that particular time. I will then ask whether the members are satisfied with those particular clauses. We will then move to a motion of desirability, which I will then read out the draft of the motion of desirability to the members. And if the members are in agreement, we will then move to the formal consideration. At the formal consideration, I will first then put the bill clause by clause to the members, and then I will put the entire bill. And then, if agreed, we will then move to the consideration and adoption of the draft committee report. And the draft committee report is then very similar to how budget votes, for example, are also written. But members, the reason I'm indicating this is because I do know it is our first Western Cape bill before this committee in this term, and some members might not necessarily know what the respective procedure is. But members, with that, I will then go to the informal consideration of the bill. If the procedural officer, either Ms. Adams or Ms. Kluter, can just put the bill up, and then members can raise any matters if they, for example, want to put any amendments. There is one particular spelling error I would like to point out to the members. So let's first go through the bill from the start, and then I'll point out the spelling error. Okay, so that is the first page. No, sorry, that's the second page where the objective of the bill is set. Okay. Then it goes, and that paragraph there, the third paragraph, indicates which sections of the original and amendment bills will be amended. Perfect. Then you go to section 1 of the bill, and that section aims to amend a section of the Act, and then that will be inserted there, be a substitution. Let's go further. Then below there's an insertion of section 44D in the Act after 44C, and that will be regarding the casino operator fees, and that will be the insertion there. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Okay, that is the amendment of the schedule on page 3. And then you see there what it amends. It goes further then to say that it's a substitution. And then where you see the little quotes, that will be essentially the substitution. You can go down. And then B, there is an addition of the paragraph after paragraph 5 in that respective section. And then you'll see there by the quotes, that's where the addition starts. And the quote after the little box at the end is where the quote ends. Okay. Yes, thank you. And the next one is an amendment of the arrangement of sections of the Act. And there's number 4. Clause 4 of the bill is the arrangement of sections. And then, for example, there's an insertion of the heading. And then it's the short title and commencement.
Chair, we're losing you. I just want to check. My apologies, Chair. Is it just me or?
Can you hear me, Member Mitchell?
Yes, now I can hear you. I just wanted to check if it's just my connectivity or if we've lost you.
No problem. I am here. If I'm speaking a little bit too soft, or if you can't hear me, please do indicate so. Then you have, for example, the short title commencement, and that is clause 5 then, which is just says what the act will be called and how it comes into operation. And then the rest of the pages is the memorandum. And the memorandum is usually attached to the bill to simply explain to people what the bill is about. But that we do not need to adopt. We only need to adopt the clauses and the full bill. The memorandum is just for explanatory purposes. Okay. Members, as I've now indicated, what I'll do is I'll quickly indicate the spelling mistake that we've picked up. The spelling mistake is only in the English version. And before the meeting, we quickly requested from legal whether that will require an amendment of the bill. And legal has advised that it won't require an amendment of the bill, because especially since it's also now in the English version, not in the other versions, that it's clearly a typo error and it can be fixed administratively when the bill is sent through, should it be adopted. So if the bill is adopted, colleagues, I would like to ask whether we could resolve that the T, the letter T, after the word section in clause 1 of the bill could be removed should the bill be adopted. Colleagues, would I have your support on that?
Support, Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay. Colleagues, with that, should the bill be adopted, the letter T after the word section in clause 1 will then be removed in the English version. Thank you so much. Okay. Colleagues, we are now that you've seen each of the clauses of the bill, could I please have views on whether you would like those clauses as is or whether there are any amendments before we move to motion of desirability?
Chair, if I may.
Member Mitchell?
I'm happy with the clauses as is, and I would propose that we move to the discussion on the desirability.
Thank you. Thank you, Member van der Westhuizen. With that, the bill is informally then considered, and we will then move to the motion of desirability. Okay. Colleagues, I will now read the motion of desirability, and then I will ask whether you are in support of this motion of desirability. That in the opinion of the committee, to amend the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Act 1996 so as to provide that certain fees are to be paid to the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board instead of into the Provincial Revenue Fund, to provide for casino operator fees, to amend the provisions in Schedule 2 and the 2 is in Roman numerals, relating to limited gambling machine operator fees, and to provide for matters incidental thereto, and that the bill referred to the committee be taken as a basis. Members, are you in agreement with the motion of desirability? Member Mitchell?
Yes, Chair. I propose that we accept that.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. Member van der Westhuizen?
Support that.
Thank you, members. I'm not sure if the correct wording is that the motion of desirability has been adopted now, but if not, then I apologize if my terminology is incorrect. But we will thus now then move to the formal consideration of the bill, given that no amendments has been proposed. Member Mitchell, I see your hand. Am I still audible? Member Mitchell, your hand's up. I'm not sure if that's a new hand or an old hand. Are other colleagues able to hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, no problem. I was just a bit worried maybe that you've lost me along the way. Okay, members, then with that, I will then move to the formal consideration of the bill. I will put the bill first clause by clause and then the entire bill. Okay, so let's start with clause 1. Let's go back down to clause 1. Okay, we can stop there. So members, without reading the whole clause, you can see the clause there, and it has, you also have the respective documentation, but it is for an amendment by substitution of that original act as amended, referring to the fees contemplated being payable to the board. Could I have a mover for clause 1 of the bill?
I move, Chair.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. Could I have a seconder for clause 1 of the bill?
Support.
Thank you, Member van der Westhuizen. Okay, let us move to clause 2. Okay, I just want to see, yes, that's the full clause 2. Okay, so that is the insertion in the Principal Act regarding the casino operator fees. Members, could I have a support, support for the clause 2? Thank you. I heard Member Mitchell and I see Member van der Westhuizen's hand. Member van der Westhuizen, you may go ahead.
Support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a mover and a seconder for clause 2 then. Let's go to the third clause. Okay, can we go a little bit down? Because, yes, just so that, okay, let's start with reading the first A and then we can go to the B section. So the A section is regarding the limited gambling machine operator fees and is a substitution. And then let's quickly go down to the B section because it's also part of clause 3. The B section is regarding the casino operator fees, and it is then an addition in that respective paragraph. So that all forms part of clause 3 then. Members, if I could have a mover for clause 3.
Chair, I move that we accept clause 3. And Chair, my apologies for not using the hand raise function. I'm having difficulty, so I don't want to confuse you. So it's no disrespect to you as Chair that I'm just speaking.
Problem. No problem. We adapt as we go in the digital age, but thank you for moving for that. Member van Westhuizen, I see your hand.
I support.
Thank you, member. Okay, let us go to clause 4. Clause 4 is regarding the arrangement of sections. Okay, if I could have a mover then for clause 4.
I move, Chair, that we adopt clause 4.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. If I could have a seconder for clause 4. Member van der Westhuizen.
Support.
Thank you. Clause 4 is then so carried. Then the last clause, apologies, because it's clauses in a bill and sections in an act. But the last clause is clause 5, which is the short title and commencement. Member van der Westhuizen, I see your hand.
Support.
Thank you so much. Is there a seconder for this particular clause?
I second that, Chair.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. With that, all the clauses have been agreed to. I'm now told I need to put the long title. Is the long title the one on the first page? The name of the bill. Okay. Okay, perfect. So the long title. Yeah. Yes, it's just that first page. Yes, it's just that first page. Members, if I could have a mover for the long title of the bill, which will read Western Cape 19th Gambling and Racing Amendment Bill.
Chair, I move.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. Member van der Westhuizen.
Support.
Thank you so much. We will now put the entire bill. So members, in terms of the entire bill, is there a mover for this bill to be adopted?
Chair, if I may.
Yes, Member Mitchell.
Chair, I propose that we adopt the entire bill in its entirety.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. Member van der Westhuizen.
Support that proposal.
Thank you so much. Are there any objections? Okay, if none, then the bill has then been so adopted. Members, given that we are working at quite a wonderful speed today, actually, and we will have more than enough time to quickly also then do the draft committee report. So we'll just quickly give the, let's see quickly. Miss Adams, before we do the draft report, could you just advise quickly whether we've adopted everything regarding the bill specifically?
Thank you, Chair. I was just letting you know. Can we maybe go back to the long title where Lizette is highlighted to amend the Western Cape? If we can read that out and adopt that, please.
Okay, is that not part of the long title?
That is the long title, yes. So this is the part that you need to, the part that Lizette highlighted is the part that you need to adopt.
Okay, I assume that the long title was the long name of the bill and not the short title clause. Apologies.
This is the long title.
Okay, let me read it out quickly. To amend the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Act 1996 as to provide that certain fees are to be paid to the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board instead of into the Provincial Revenue Fund, to provide for casino operator fees, to amend the provisions in Schedule 2 relating to limited gambling machine operator fees, and to provide for matters incidental thereto. Members, you will see, similar to the motion of desirability, it has similar, if not exactly the same, language. But just for the ease of the procedural officer, could we please adopt this particular section? Member van der Westhuizen.
I move.
Thank you so much. Is there a seconder?
Chair, I second that proposal.
Thank you so much. Ms. Adams, could you please advise whether we need to re-adopt the bill in its entirety or whether it is sufficient in the current format that we followed?
No, Chair, you've already adopted the bill in its entirety. That should suffice. It's on a record.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. Do you need a minute or two just to do the draft report?
Yes, Chair, if we can have about 10-minute break, if that's okay.
Okay. Colleagues, if it is okay with you, could we just suspend the meeting for 10 minutes and return at 8:30, just so the procedural officer is able to edit the draft report? To my knowledge, it's going to be something similar to what a budget vote usually looks like. Would that be in order with members?
In order, Chair.
Agreed.
Okay, members, the meeting is then suspended until 8:30. Thank you so much. Order with you. Could we please give the procedural officer just another 5 minutes? I've just been asked if they could just get a few more minutes just in order to finish the respective documentation. Hoping that's in order. Thank you.
Noted, thank you.
Chair, can we get maybe 5 more minutes, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll
Apologies.
do you need more than 5 minutes? Do you need another 10 minutes perhaps? because then the members kan hulle pikkelfish gaan inlê so lank.
Okay, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Members, with your indulgence, we'll then commence at 8:45. Apologies for the delay. came before us in 2020 and is now being adopted in 2021. So there's a view that in the long title that the number 2020 needs to change to 2021 because eventually when the Premier signs it, it will become an Act of 2021. And there's a view that it can remain 2020. Now, because the Premier will be adopting it as an Act, I've been advised that let's rather be prudent. Let us change the number 2020 to 2021 because the bill is being adopted in 2021 and the Premier will eventually be signing it in 2021 should the House then adopt it as well. Members, if this is in order with you, could we then just quickly give them, the procedural officers and legal, just another 15 minutes or so until 9 o'clock then, in order just to make sure that the wording of such an amendment is correct, because the clerk has also advised that in this particular case, we will require an amendment. Members, would you be in order with that, in order for us to then receive that and then to go through that as well at 9 o'clock?
Fine with me.
Thank you so much. I just want to hear some views from the other members as well, because we might all still be putting our pickled fish in the, taking our pickled fish out of the fridge. Are the other members okay with us then commencing at 9 with that particular amendment, which will then be drafted for us? 2020 will be changed to 2021. Thank you, Member Nkondlo. Okay, I'm not sure if Member Mitchell is having connectivity problems, and I see another member has joined us now. Welcome, Member Makamba Bocha. Hello, Member Mitchell. Perfect. Okay. Colleagues, apologies again for the delay and any inconvenience possibly caused, but we will then obviously commence at 9 o'clock in order to allow a legal and procedural just to get that particular wording correct for us, and then we'll pop it onto the screen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair.
needed our legal quickly advise us, but it went a little bit higher than that quick. I hope that all members are at their computers or devices. I'm just quickly going to ask if members are still with us before I proceed with giving the feedback. Are members still with us? Or are you busy still making a cup of coffee? Pickling the fish? Members, are you there? Okay.
I'm here.
Perhaps, okay, Member Mitchell's with us.
I'm here too.
Member van der Veste, is it? Member Kondlo, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Wonderful. Member Makamba Bocha, are you with us? Okay. Perhaps Member Makamba Bocha still making up. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Okay.
Colleagues, what I'm going to do is I've asked that Mr. Marsdorp just explain to us quickly the difference between if it should be 2020 or 2021. I've received feedback that it can remain 2020 because that's when the bill is introduced, because even if it's changed to 2021, we don't know when the Premier will sign it. So it is an assumption that the Premier would sign it, for example, in 2021. But in theory, the Premier could sign it, for example, in 2025. So it's not necessary for the bill to the number there to be changed, because the Act will receive the year number in the year that the Premier signs it. But in more legal terminology, I'm going to just quickly ask that Advocate Marsdorp just explain the detail of that particular matter to us. Thank you.
Morning, Chair and members. Chair, inasmuch as it may sound different in legal terms, it's very much a part of the lawmaking / procedural process. We have an instance here where a bill straddles 2 calendar years, in that it was introduced in one particular year and is now sought to be adopted in a following year. It could have been 2 years later that it was sought to be adopted, or 3 years later, etc. So it is as arbitrary as that. The date that is. That's firstly. Secondly, there are 3 dates in this context that pop up as of consequence. The first is the bill date, namely when it was introduced as a bill. Then there's the adoption date, which would be today if we adopt it. And then there would be the date which is the one where the Premier would assent to it for it to become effective. In fact, the Premier may sign it on a particular date and may endorse it that it will become effective on a future date. So the 2 things in my consideration are relevant. When the bill became our property as part of the lawmaking exercise, and when it is assented, the adoption date in that process is secondary. It is virtually inconsequential as to when the bill was introduced, when it became within the domain of Parliament, is the identity of the bill. The identity of this bill is the Western Cape 19th Gambling and Racing Amendment Act 2020. The Premier may assent to it in December 2021 and say that this bill will become effective on the 1st of April 2022, which is the crucial date in the lifetime of the Act, the effective implementation, ready for enforcement date. The identity of this bill, as it is in our domain now, is that it is the Western Cape 19th Amendment Act 2020. when it became within our domain. And having said that, I'm of the view that the date of 2020 need not be changed. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Advocate Maasdorp. That sounds clear and straightforward, and thus we would not need an amendment. Members, are you happy with that explanation? Member van der Westhuizen?
Fine with me, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member van der Westhuizen. Any other views on the explanation?
The explanation is clear, Chairperson.
Thank you, Member Nkondlo. With that, I will then ask the procedural officer to flight the draft committee report then for us, as there's no other matters directly related to the bill that we need to deal with then. Okay. Okay. Can we take the word draft out first? At both committee report and report in the first paragraph. Okay, and yes, that is the correct date. The committee name is correct. Bill number is correct. Standing rule without amendments, that is correct. There were no minority views, so we can take that paragraph out. And just maybe take the one space out because there's a double space. Yeah, there we go. Okay, members, I'm going to now read the draft report, and I will then ask members whether they are in agreement with whether this reflects the decisions that were taken. Okay. Committee report of the Standing Committee on Finance, Economic Opportunities, Tourism on the Western Cape 19th Gambling and Racing Amendment Bill B1 2020 dated 31 March 2021. Standing Committee on Finance, Economic Opportunities and Tourism, having considered the subject of the Western Cape 19th Gambling and Racing Amendment Bill B1 2020, referred to it in terms of Standing Rule 173, reports the bill without amendments, report to be considered. Members, given that we've already tabled the bill and adopted the bill, this is the report on the bill. So this is then the draft report. Is there a mover for the draft report to become the report? Member Mitchell.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I propose and move that we adopt the draft report.
Thank you so much. Is there a seconder? Member van der Westhuizen.
I second that, Chair.
Thank you so much. Okay. With that, this is then the official report of the committee. And I will then not read it a second time, but that will then go to the clerk for ATC, and the report will then be considered in the House. Members, thank you for allowing us to jump through the extra procedural hoops on those matters just to ensure that we have dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's. And with that, I will request that we move on to minutes now. Okay, the first set of minutes that need to be adopted is for the 10th of February. I just want to check, Member van der Westhuizen, your surname, does the V have to be in a capital or a small letter?
Sorry, Chair, I, for one other reason, have opened the 3rd of February as the first one. Am I on the wrong one?
Let me just check with the procedural officer. Is this the first set of minutes?
We're busy with the 10th. I'll flag the 3rd, Chairperson.
No problem. In the meantime, Member van der Westhuizen, is your surname with a capital V or a small one?
It's with a capital.
Capital,
It's only with a small one when the initial is preceding the surname.
No
And then,
problem.
quite interesting, Chair, I thought that the convention was to write the starting time 10 and then not H, but with a double punt. I don't know what that is called. Just, I don't know what the convention is. Normally, every institution has got its own internal manual or guide that it uses.
I'm not bothered with it. It's a double little point thingy, or if it's a H. Members, are you happy with those edits so far? If no objections, can we go down? Okay, that's page 1. Page 2 was the consideration of the Energy Week report. Okay, let's go down. The draft committee minutes, committee business. That just relates to the Africa Energy Indaba. Can we go down? Go down. That was the feedback. Let's go down. Resolutions and actions. Meeting adjourned. Okay. Colleagues, if I could get a mover for the minutes. Member Makamba Bocha.
So before we move for the minutes, I just want to check. I don't see any of my apology in the minutes. So I'm not sure if the postal office didn't get any emails from the PAs, from my PAs.
Procedural officer, for the 10th of February, was there an apology received?
Thanks, Chair. I'm just going to double check quickly. I'll come back to you.
Okay, then before we adopt these minutes, then can we then go to the next set, and then you can just quickly check whether an apology has been submitted, and then we can always adopt this as the second document. Member Mitchell, I see your hand.
No, Chair, I wanted to propose, but I mean, I'm not gonna. You've made a ruling, so it's fine.
No problem. We're just going to check.
If I can I've just checked the attendance register and I didn't get an apology for that day. So it was absent for the 3rd of Feb.
No problem. For that particular minutes, then we'll come back to it. But Member Makamba Bocha will then just ask that if you could just please liaise with your respective office, that if you aren't attending, if they can just please submit apologies on your behalf, then that would be appreciated, because then it can be also noted. But members, since we already have the 3rd of February up before us, let's quickly go through that. Page 1, go down. Okay, page 2, go down. Okay, and let's go down a little bit just to see that it is the end of the minutes. There we go. Members, is there a mover for the 3rd of February minutes?
I move.
Thank you, Member van der Westhuizen. Is there a seconder? I see Member Mitchell's hand.
A second, Chair.
Thank you so much. Those minutes have been adopted. Can we go then back to the 10th of February quickly, please? Member van der Westhuizen, your hand is up.
Sorry, Chair, that was on the previous one.
No problem. Let's quickly go back to the 10th of February. Miss Kluter, I'm not sure if you flighted it already. There's a black screen in front of us.
Okay, on mine it shows that it's screening. Let me just try to unshare and share again.
No problem.
Is it visible now, Member Bartman?
It is visible. Members, okay, members, then with the grammatical edits and spelling edits, if I could have a mover for the minutes, please.
I so move. Sorry, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. I heard both Member van der Westhuizen and Member Mitchell at the same time. So you can be put as movers and seconder then of those minutes. If we can have the next set of minutes, please. Okay, members, that is the 11th of March. Okay, there we go. Let's quickly go down. So the only two members that can propose for these are van der Westhuizen and Kondlo, but let's go down quickly. Page 1. You can go down. Page 2. You can go down. Page 3. Let's go down. Page 4. Okay, if I could please have a mover for the minutes.
Chair, I propose. I think we were a bit thin on the ground in that meeting.
Yes, thank you so much. Member van der Westhuizen has moved. Member Kondlo, are you happy with the reflection of these minutes? You are the only other member that was present at this meeting.
I'm okay with them, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Member Nkondlo. The minutes has then so been adopted. Could we please have the next set of minutes? Thank you so much. This was 18 March. Okay, we can go down. We can go down. We can go down. That's page 1. Let's go to page 2. We can go down. Thank you. Let's go to page 3. And that's the end of the document. If I could get a mover for the minutes, please. Member Makamba Bocha, I see your hand. I know you weren't present. I know that Member Knego stood in for you, but I see your hand nevertheless.
Okay, I just want to check, Chairperson, before we move. I thought the apology would also be reflecting there, even though Knego was alternating on my behalf.
Okay, member, on page 1, your apology is reflected. Are you satisfied with that?
I didn't see. Okay, no, that's fine. Thanks.
No problem. Members, with that, is there a mover for the minutes?
I move, Chair.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. Is there a seconder?
Support.
Thank you, Member van der Westhuizen. The minutes of the 18th is then adopted. If we could get the next set, please. I think it's the last set. The 19th. Okay, let's go slowly down so the members can just check. Okay, members, that's the first page. For this one, quickly go up. Wasn't Member Mvimbi in our meeting? I think Member Mvimbi was in our meeting that day. Let's just quickly go up. Which meeting was this? No, Member Vimbi was in this meeting. I remember that. Okay, so we just need to, Ms. Kluter, so there by present, the members, we just need to include Member Mvimbi's name. Okay, and then just a space, yes, and another space between the name and the next, okay.
Sorry, Chair, I don't recall Member Mvimbi being at the meeting of the 19th. He was at the meeting of the 18th.
No, he was in both. I remember he was in both. He was online. I was chairing in the house.
Okay, I'll double check with that, but I don't have him on my attendance.
Member van der Westhuizen?
Chair, I think these records are quite important. So perhaps we've got two choices. The first one is to adopt subject to a review of the attendance register, or alternatively for the set of minutes to stand over. I leave it to you to decide on the best way forward.
Yeah, I remember I was chairing in the chamber for both the 18th and the 19th, and I remember Member Wimby being online, but perhaps we should adopt subject to review of that edit. Just so that if there's any resolutions at the end, that those resolutions can then be forwarded in the meantime. Members, would you be happy with that? Okay, yeah, no objections. So I'm assuming everyone's happy with that then. Member van der Westhuizen?
Yes, I'm happy with that, the ruling, Chair.
No problem. Thank you so much. Okay, members, this is then page 1. Oh, sorry, page 2. Sorry, that's page 2. Okay, let's go to the next page. Page 3. And that's the end of the meeting. Yes. Colleagues, is there a mover for the minutes?
I'll move, Chair.
Thank you so much. Is there a seconder for the minutes?
Sorry, my hand function is a bit slow, ma'am, but
No problem.
I will second that.
Thank you so much. Members, those minutes are then adopted subject to the review of the attendance of the meeting. Thank you so much. And with that, there's just resolutions and actions left for the committee, if there are any. Okay, if there are none, members, I don't have any feedback in this particular meeting at this time. And with that, we then come to the end of our meeting. Members, thank you so much for your engagement. I hope you have a wonderful Easter break, if you'll be having a break at all. If you'll be on the road, please be safe. And please look after yourselves. And in terms of health and safety in general, please remember to wear your mask and avoid crowds and to sanitize regularly. And colleagues, I just a special thank you to our procedural officers, to the legal eagles, to the other operational staff and IT. This was the first Western Cape Bill before our committee in this term that we've dealt with, and I do think we've excelled quite a bit in terms of ensuring interrogation and oversight over the respective matters. But members, with that, thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned.